Bible betrayals.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Level Uploading Fight Feelings Face Facts. I hope you all have been enjoying all the different flavors I've been adding to my podcast. I've been trying to incorporate a little bit of something for everybody, okay? Listen. So let's go ahead and hop into our next episode of It Be Your Own People. And for those of you who are new here, that is where we are going to be discussing our biblical betrayals. If you haven't checked out the other episodes, please make sure you do so. They are very entertaining. So today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite stories in the Bible. If anyone has ever felt like the favor and the hand of God in your life has attracted tons of hate and envy, you'll probably like this story as well. This is a story of Joseph, his semi-messy father, his fly coat, and his hating brothers. So this story is not as well known as the previous two that we covered. And as you all know, I'm going to give you a short synopsis before we dive deeper into the ways that Joseph was betrayed by his family. I will warn you, this story is a lengthier one compared to the other two that we did on Cain and Abel and Adam and Eve. So, just get you some popcorn, get you a little tea, a little seltzer water, whatever your, chill snack is, and listen up. Let's go. So Joseph was the second youngest son of Jacob. He was number 11 out of 12. Jacob was not playing, y'all. When God said go and be fruitful, honey, listen. 12, okay? Yeesh. Unfortunately, Joseph's youngest brother, that's number 12, who was Benjamin, the mom winded up passing away during his birth. Side note, guys, can we just talk about the fact that childbirth has and always will be a dangerous and scary thing? Do not play with it and do not take it lightly. I'm just saying. So Jacob, Joseph's father, he really particularly liked his son. He took a liking to Joseph. He really, really enjoyed him. He enjoyed his innocence. He was young compared to the older ones, but he wasn't a newborn baby like Benjamin. So it was kind of like, the innocent, I still need to learn, I'm still willing to learn, father-son relationship. He really, really loved him. It was not really that hard to tell that he was low-key kind of the favorite, and that did not go unnoticed by the brothers. They noticed the favoritism, and they were definitely envious and annoyed by it. As if that wasn't enough, then when Joseph turned 17, Jacob gave him a birthday gift, this colorful, beautiful coat. And let's just say Joseph was he was young, and when you're young, your brain isn't fully developed. You don't really understand life, and you have a certain level of innocence, but you're also still coming into that adulthood. And he was not at all what you would consider humble about, he was just always happy about his dad and how close he was with him, and he was bragging. And really, he was just happy about the coat and the gift that he got, but really it came off as bragging. And the other brothers, it caused them to feel more envious. Why is he getting such a nice gift? Why is he getting this for his birthday? What do we get for our birthday? I'm paraphrasing, guys, okay? Listen, get in the Bible. And let me also just say, this is why I said his messy father, because the other sons, the older sons, they were breaking their backs, helping their elderly father, to keep things going, to keep the family going. And meanwhile, they kind of, felt dismissed, unappreciated. And I feel like that's what made them feel so envious and irritated by their little brother. Instead of them, wanting to take him under their wing and show him love like most brothers do, the fact that Jacob favored Joseph so much really just caused a huge tear in their relationship. So one night, Joseph had this dream, and the dream was about him, and each one of the brothers had their own separate sheep. But out of nowhere in this dream, Joseph's sheep stood up like he was a human, and basically all the other sheep started to bow down to Joseph. Unfortunately, he went and shared this in his innocence and also ignorance. He went and shared this dream, with his brothers and his family, and they're like, wait, what? We bow down to you. Like, we already irritated by you. You're already treated as the favorite, and now you're having dreams where we're bowing down to you, And he also had another dream where the stars, the sun, and the moon bowed down to him, and they were like, okay, bro, like, you need to chill. You're doing too much with all this bowing down stuff. You're a little boy. We're the ones keeping the family afloat. We're the ones making sure you have food to eat and making sure that dad does not lose his livelihood. So, yeah. And Joseph was a kid brother. Like, he was the second to youngest. So he just went about his business like, yeah, whatever. They just hating on me. You think about brothers and sisters and family relationships. You might be a little irritated with someone, but you just go on about your business. So time went on, and eventually one day, Jacob and Joseph were having their little alone time, and Jacob was like, hey, go check on your brothers. They've been gone for a while. Go check on them. So Joseph went on his little merry way, not knowing that his brothers were actually in the middle of plotting. How can we get rid of this annoying brother? Like, he's taking all of dad's attention. He's walking around here like he's better than someone. He has that coat. We need to get rid of him. We actually need to go ahead and unalive him. Like, what? So extreme. Like, Dad, can we box about it? Can we get our one-on-one? Can y'all line up and, punch me in the stomach or something? Like, why do I have to be off the earth? But, whatever. And so one of the older brothers, he was like, nah, that's a little extreme, y'all. Like, we're not about to do that. We're his whole brother. We can't do that. This is when Joseph was coming up. Joseph rose up, just like, hey, brothers, annoying kid brother, you know what I mean? And they pounced on him. They basically pounced on him. Like, I'm sure he probably was so alarmed because, like, literally 10 of them. You got to think about it. It was 12. So it was 10 older brothers. Then it was Joseph, and then it was Benjamin, the youngest. 10 grown men who were at the very least older than 17 because, he has to be a little bit older than 17 at this point. So these were fully grown men who were just all surrounding him, grabbing one little Joseph. They saw a well, and they decided to throw him down the well. So I want to say his name was Reuben. Reuben was the older brother who was like the oldest, and he did not really want to hurt his brother. He was annoyed by him. He was irritated that his dad gave him all the attention, but he didn't want to hurt his brother. You know what I mean? Like, so he's like, the reason why he told them to use the well was because he was like, okay, that'll let them feel like they did something, and I'll come back out and get them, and we'll move on. Well, of course, brothers know each other, and the other brothers, was like the second, I think, don't quote me on this part, but like the second and third oldest, they were like, they really wanted him gone. They really wanted Joseph gone, and they knew Reuben was not going to give them the okay. So what they did was they went back to the well before Reuben got a chance to get there, and they happened to see some merchants walking past. The merchants walked past, and they were coming back from Egypt. This is where they were, selling their goods and, bringing back the things that they bought and whatever. And so they had the great idea, like, you know what, instead of us actually taking him out, we could just sell him to these merchants, get some money, and we'll be rid of him. Like, it's a win-win. I forgot to mention that once they dropped him down into the well, they snatched his coat off. They snatched off the coat that his father gave him. When they pulled him back up or whatever to sell him, sold him off, tied his hands up, got, I think, 20 pieces of silver from the merchants. And guess what? The merchants were back on their way to Egypt to go ahead and sell him into slavery. Crazy. Your own people. It be your own people for real. Like, that is the reason why the name of this series is that, because it really be your own people. 10 of your oldest brothers just plans to actually take you out, but decided to instead make some money off your head and sell you into slavery. So remember I told you that they took his coat, and so they took that coat and they put some goat blood on it, and they took it back to Jacob and, Dad, we found this. Something happened. A wild animal got to Joseph. We don't know what happened. So of course, Jacob is like, oh my God, he's in mourning. He's literally in mourning because he thinks that his son, any of his sons, has passed away, but his favorite son has passed away. So they got rid of their problem brother. He's no longer a part of the family, and now the father is there left to grieve what he thinks is the passing of his son. So meanwhile, Joseph was being sold to a wealthy Egyptian named Potiphar, and Potiphar had them coins. He was like the right hand I won't say the right hand, but he was a trusted aide of Pharaoh at the time. Joseph had a very good relationship with God. He had the favor and the hand of God was definitely on his life, and even in his trials and tribulations. And so even in slavery, he was just still thriving. Like, he just was a very intelligent young boy, able-bodied boy, and he made great decisions, and he, had a lot of wisdom. And so he was very well liked by his new master, Potiphar. And so he gave him many responsibilities. He put him over all of his properties. But on the flip side of that, unfortunately, he was a handsome young man as well. And Potiphar's wife decided that she wanted a piece of that, okay? She like, who that? Who that is? Oh, sorry. But yeah, so she started trying to seduce him, and every time that she would try to seduce him, he would decline, and he would, I'm good, sis. Go on about your business. Of course, she did not take that rejection well, so instead, the last time that she tried and failed to seduce him, because he did not want to, of course, be disloyal to his master who had shown him much love, and also he did not want to commit a sin against God by sleeping with someone else's wife, adultery. She was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm going to say you did it. So basically, she acted like she acted like he took it. She acted like she got taken advantage of. And she went and told Potiphar, your servant boy, your slave, whatever you want to call it, he got fresh with me. And the only reason why he stopped is because I screamed loud. So now Joseph is being accused of something he did not do, something that he actually was working towards avoiding because he didn't want to be disloyal, and now he's arrested. Potiphar doesn't even second guess it. He instantly goes to have Joseph arrested, thrown into prison. Can we talk about how trifling it is to wrongfully accuse someone of something like that? Like, you can't take rejection. You should have been worried about your husband instead of trying to get you some young meat. Little nasty self. Trifling. So while he was in jail, he met a couple prisoners, and he overheard them talking about their crazy dreams. He always used to have crazy dreams too. So he's like, well, one thing about it, I have a good relationship with God, and he speaks through me by interpreting the dreams that I have. So, you guys tell me what your dream was about, and I'll try to, have God speak through me to let you guys know what those dreams actually mean. So one guy had a dream, and his outcome was not good. His outcome was supposed to be very bad, and it came to pass. And then there was another guy, he had a dream that the dream basically was translated to he was going to be getting let out of prison soon. And a few days passed, and sure enough, he got out of jail, and he was so happy. Thank you, Joseph, you were right. And, Joseph was like, hey, look, just when you get out, I know that you are a servant of Pharaoh. You have his ear, you have access to Pharaoh. Just don't forget about me. Just try to tell him, like, I am a wrongfully accused man. Help me out here, And of course, he's like, oh, yeah, my boy, I got you. I'm going to do that. Please. Got out of prison, and he forgot all about Joseph. He was living his best life, probably partying, turning up, getting lit, and of course, working. Forgot all about him for years. I'm talking years. So Joseph just sitting in jail like, I know you lying. No, but seriously, Joseph was just sitting in jail. He was a prisoner until one day Pharaoh actually had a dream, and none of his mystical people, none of his wise men, none of his astrologers, none of his anybody could help him to interpret it. And because of the fact that he was getting so upset, the servant that was a prisoner, he remembered, hey, that prisoner that was there, Joseph, he knows how to interpret dreams. He talks to God, and his God just gives him the answers and the message, and they come true. So Pharaoh was like, say less, go get him. Say less, go get him. I need him. I want him to tell me about this dream. So they go scoop up Joseph, take him back to Pharaoh. Pharaoh like, look, check it out. What's good with this dream? Let me tell you what it is. So basically the dream translated into, it's about cows. It's a lot of stuff, but I'm going to tell you what the dream basically meant. God was revealing and giving a warning that the land was going to experience a famine and a drought. And of course, Pharaoh was like, wait, what? It's going to be 7 years. It was supposed to be 7 years of famine. He's like, oh, wow. Like, I'm not prepared for that. And Joseph's like, hold on, but wait. Before we get to the famine and drought part, God is gracious enough to give us enough time. We're going to have 7 years of abundance, 7 years of surplus, 7 years of overflow. And that's going to give us time to have what we need for now, but also to store away, to preserve, and to save up so that once the time comes for the drought to hit, we'll be okay. So Pharaoh was extremely happy. He was thrilled. He like, you smart, you wise, I like you. You're not a prisoner no more. Actually, I want you to oversee all the operations to make sure that these 7 years that we have ahead of time, make sure that we're set for when the 7 years of drought and famine come. So now Joseph is a big dog on campus. He went from a slave to a prisoner to now he's a big dog on campus. Basically like Pharaoh's right-hand man. He trusted him with so much. And it was not very long before Joseph literally had, everybody loving him. He just had one of those personalities that people loved, and he was well liked, and everybody just showed him love. And sometimes, that's what people envy. They envy how people love you. One thing that was admirable about Joseph was that he never took credit for, I can interpret dreams. He's like, no, I just speak the words that God gives me. He interprets them for me. He uses me as a mouthpiece. I'm a vessel, but I have no powers. I have no insight. I know nothing. My Holy Father is the one who gives me the answers. So that was very admirable. So basically, eventually the drought and the famine actually did hit. And when that occurred, Egypt was pretty good, but animals and people all over the world, all over the neighboring towns were passing away because they did not have the warning that Pharaoh had from Joseph. So they didn't know to stack up and save up things. They were eating like it was the normal days instead of rationing. And so eventually people started to pass away, including their animals, their livelihood, and their stock. Of course, Joseph made sure, because of the warning that he had, that Egypt was set. So they had more than enough. And out of the graciousness, but also they were selling it. But out of the graciousness and greediness, they were like, well, we got neighboring towns around. We got more than enough. We'll make sure we are good. And then whatever we have left over, we'll sell. So they were selling to neighboring places. So Jacob and his 11 sons back in Canaan, they were about to starve. Like, they got a lot of mouths to feed. Their animals are dying and they don't have no food. So they're like, we heard about this Pharaoh in Egypt who is selling his stock, his surplus. Let's go. So Jacob was like, I'm gonna stay here with the youngest because he's too young to be making such a trip, and I'm too old to be making such a trip. Y'all 10, y'all go and see about it. Here's the money. Bring back something. Please hurry. We about to die. Period. Help. So the 10 brothers, they took their little tails on the road again. Just can't wait to be on the road again. They went on the road and they got to Egypt. And when they got to Egypt, obviously Joseph, first of all, those his brothers. Joseph looks different, but they don't. You know what I mean? Not really. I mean, older, of course, but they don't look different in the sense of like, they ain't glowed up like Joseph has. So they didn't recognize Joseph. And they probably thought he was passed away somewhere or, just a slave. And so they were like, help us. We could please be gracious enough to sell us some grain or whatever. And Joseph was like, I don't know, I don't trust y'all. Y'all seem like y'all might be some spies. And they're like, no. We're just hungry. We have my elderly father is back home with my baby brother, and we're just trying to get some food. We need something to be able to live. So Joseph was gracious. He did sell them some stuff, but he was like, listen, when you run out of that and you come back, all of y'all need to come. Now, of course, the brothers don't know that Joseph knows who he is, but Joseph is like, nah, bring everybody. So time goes on, and they go back, and they eventually run out of food, so they have to make that trip back to Egypt again. They make the trip back to Egypt. They have to keep their word. They brought Benjamin, and they brought Jacob. So when Joseph saw all of his brothers and his father, he disclosed who he was. Hey, brothers, I'm the brother that you sold out to slavery all those years ago. And so now all the brothers are looking crazy, like, and Jacob's surprised because he was told that he was eaten by a wild animal. And Benjamin, like, I didn't even know I had no other brother. He was so young when all of this took place. So Joseph, it's a lot of J's. Joseph was like, no. Don't even worry about feeling sad or bad. I forgive you. I'm here to help you. I just want you guys to know that, I made something of myself, and I want you guys to live here with me. I'm the right hand of Pharaoh. I oversee all of this. I got money. I got me a wifey. We good. So he showed favor upon them. He showed favor to them, and he invited them to live there in Egypt so that they didn't have to go back to Canaan and suffer through the famine. They would live there with him and his family and live happily ever after. Okay, I know that was a mouthful, and I am super tired myself. My voice about to go out, okay? This was a long story, but it was worth it because look at all the different things we learned. Let's go ahead and dive into the 6 ways that I feel that Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. So number 1, this might be an unpopular opinion, and maybe it's bad theology, I don't know, but this is just my take on it. I feel like Joseph was betrayed by his father Jacob. Jacob had to know that acting that way towards his son Joseph was going to leave his other sons feeling some type of way. The level of favoritism that he was showing was actually kind of crazy. And not to mention the fact that he was actually working those older brothers, his older sons. He was working them like slaves. So you got the nerve to work me like a slave, and then I ain't even your favorite. You ain't gonna even try to pretend like you love us all equally. I know you lying. Yeah, so that's definitely number 1. I think his dad was bogus. I don't care, point blank, period. Because have some discernment, okay? Read the room. Everybody hates me now because you love me too much. Okay, this one is the obvious one. The number 2 is that Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. Their envy and their disdain for him caused them to even consider taking him out and to murk him, to take him out the game fully. And even though they didn't wind up doing that, just the thought of them having such a big hand in him being sold off is crazy. It be your own people, y'all. I want you to know it be your own people. Not to mention the fact that they literally sold him. So you gonna sell me, get rid of me, and make a couple dollars? You gonna make a couple dollars off me like that? Crazy. A quick one that was not actually against Joseph, but I wanted to mention the fact that the brothers did lie to their dad, Jacob, and had him in a whole grief, had him grieving his son, and he wasn't even dead. That's betrayal, and that sucks, and that's trash. Number 4, Joseph was betrayed by Potiphar's wife with her little trifling, little nasty self. Just freaky and nasty. Apparently, her lust had her in such a chokehold that she was willing to ruin this man's life. And I mean, the reasoning behind it was she could have just took the rejection and moved on and said, you know what, he's right. But no, the rejection of it is what caused her to be so spiteful to have him arrested for nothing. I feel like Joseph was actually betrayed by Potiphar as well, because Potiphar just took his wife's word, didn't even really ask Joseph anything, didn't even ask for proof or any type of witnesses. He just really just ran with the narrative that his wife gave him. And he knew that Joseph was a faithful servant, that he was always honorable, and, his reputation was good. So it's just kind of wild to me that he didn't at least try to hear his side of the story. But so yeah, I do consider that a betrayal. betrayal. And I'm sure it hurt Joseph's feelings because he was being honorable to him and to God. He honored Potiphar. He didn't want to sleep with his wife. He could have easily slept with her, gave her what she wanted, and he would have still been out free, even though it would have been a sin. But no, he tried to honor not only God, but also Potiphar and his union and covenant. And what did it get him? Prison for years. And last but not least, Joseph was definitely betrayed by the prisoner. Like, bro, you had one job. I had your back. I done gave you peace of mind up in this prison cell, and you had one job. If he had actually petitioned for Pharaoh earlier, who knows, Joseph might have got out quicker, but we will never know because he dropped the ball. He pretty much left him high and dry, and he was not a man of his word. And although he did come through in the end, I do think he was still kind of bogus. I don't care what you say. And I know God's timing is everything, so he probably still wouldn't have even been able to convince Pharaoh until the dream happened, but still, you could at least try. That's all I'm saying. So as we look at this example of biblical betrayals, understand that sometimes that favor of God that's on you is going to attract some hate. It might inspire someone to ruin your reputation, lie on you, and do just about anything to destroy you. But what they don't know is, if God be for you, who can be against you? Joseph thrived everywhere he went, no matter the circumstances. From a slave to a prisoner to the right hand of Pharaoh, he still moved with grace. The anointing that God blessed Joseph with showed up in every area of his life, even some of the lowest moments. We can also let this be a lesson on forgiveness. We must remember that nothing is ever wasted when it comes to God. The good, the bad, or the ugly. It's all being used to get you to the place that God wants you to be. All of it's being used to get you to your final destination. Now remember, this is not to inspire fear or paranoia, but just to get you thinking and aware that sometimes it be your own people. You guys have a good one. Stay vigilant. Bye.